Welcome to More Than Prizes, Building Behavior and Buy-in Through Your School Store. I'm Abby. I'm a former middle school teacher and one of the co-creators of ClassBank. And here's a quick overview of what we will cover today. We'll start with the why behind school-wide positive reinforcement and how the school store fits into that. And then we'll hear from our two amazing panelists, Ariel Fountain and Jack O'Brien, who will share how they have successfully launched stores at both the elementary and the middle school level. And then we'll leave about 10 minutes in the end for Q&A. So if you have questions throughout, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And thank you to everyone who shared questions beforehand as well. Our goal for this panel is that you'll be able to walk away with actionable strategies that you can implement in your own school, whether you are just getting started or looking for ways to improve your own school store. Before we dive in, I want to take a minute to ground ourselves in impact. Research consistently shows that positive reinforcement leads to improved student outcomes, so higher achievement, better behavior, increased attendance, fewer discipline issues, so reduced referrals, suspensions, and incidents, and stronger teacher outcomes, better relationships, improved engagement, healthier school culture. And a well-run store really brings that to life. It makes your expectations actually meaningful and motivating for your students in a way that feels tangible and fun. When I was teaching, my school tried to use a digital points and store system, and the system we were using wasn't really teacher friendly. So staff didn't really buy in, meaning the students weren't motivated and the whole thing fell apart. I tried to do a paper version in my own classroom, and it just took way too much time to manage. So that's why a fellow teacher and I created ClassBank. For teachers, our goal is for it to be really simple and easy to use and integrating into your day-to-day routines. For students, it's fun and engaging and teaches those real-world financial literacy skills. And then for schools, it makes positive reinforcement scalable without adding one more thing to your plate. And a big part of positive reinforcement is that school store, which is what we'll focus on today. We are lucky to be joined by two incredible educators who have run school stores at different levels. We have Ariel Fountain, who is a 5th and 6th grade teacher at Calico Rock Elementary, serving grades K through 6 in Arkansas. And then we have Jack O'Brien, who is a PBIS leader and teacher at Pleasant View Middle School, serving students grade 7 and 8 in Ohio. They both have used ClassBank in their own individual classroom before taking it school-wide. So they bring insight from every level. And with that, panelists, I would love to have you all quickly introduce yourself. Tell us your name, your school, your position.
I'm Jack O'Brien. I am a classroom teacher. I teach career tech at Pleasant View Middle School in Grove City, and that we serve about 750 7th and 8th graders.
Awesome.
Hello, I am Ariel Fountain. I am from a smaller school, Calico Rock, Arkansas. I teach 5th and 6th grade math. We have maybe 60 5th and 6th graders.
Awesome. Perfect. And thank you again for being here today. Diving right on in, we'd love to start with getting started with your school and class store. In the early days, what inspired you to start a school store? What did that process look like?
For us, it was, we were just starting, the district that we're in was just starting to push for like PBIS and having every school have a PBIS system. And it just so happened that year it was around COVID, and I was scrolling through TikTok and I found ClassBank. And so we contacted Katie and Abby, and we kind of did me and another teacher kind of did a trial just in our classroom, and we like got all this stuff and we did all the fines and bonuses, and then we presented to our staff, and our staff really bought in, and we've done it school wide for 2 years now.
So for me, being a new teacher, I had only seen a ClassBank or a class store being done in my own child's classroom. He was in 6th grade, and he would bring home presents that he had purchased from his class store that his teacher was running. So when I found out I was going to become a math teacher, I went to her and she, told me all of her tips and tricks. And she had only the paper system, no online anything. So I adopted everything that she had told me, but I wanted something different, something that was going to be easier to keep track of. I didn't want to have to keep track of paper records, and um, wanted I well, I say wanted. I thought that the kids would be more engaged with it if they had some sort of online instant gratification. And my kids really do. They enjoy having the online bank account. It's pretty cool.
I love to hear it. And thinking about setting up that school store, something that we hear all the time is, we see the power of a school store for student engagement, but it just seems like a lot of work into one more thing on our teacher's plate. How do we even get this off the ground? So, thinking back to before you even had the school store in place, what steps did you take to actually launch the store? And maybe Jack, I'll start with you because I know y'all have a great team in place that really manages that.
Yeah. So myself, I started really small and like had like two or three things in there. Also like just kind of Googled like some free options, like sit in a teacher's chair, that kind of stuff. But I think it was really important because I had used Dojo before, but this is kind of a lot more involved and the kids are a lot more engaged. So they know exactly how much money they have. They can control how much money they have. So I think that was kind of the big difference. Um, and then I just kind of added like I asked the kids what kind of things they want, and then looking at what I can buy personally for the kids, and then kind of went into some free options as well. And then eventually we kind of got like a good bank of items. So then when we presented to the staff, it wasn't as daunting because we had um, this other teacher and I had kind of already gone through some trial and error with it. So
Awesome. And I'd love to dig into that shift of once you presented it to your staff and they were on board, what did it look like shifting from your own classroom store to then setting up that school-wide store?
yeah, so once once we got this, and then we kind of saw there was a need for kind of a school integration when we were able to like kind of buy the whole package and be able to have teachers were able to find and give bonuses to the same account. It's not two different accounts, different classes. We just kind of like we put a team together. We call it the school store team of just like how are we going to logistically create like a school store because we have done that before and it was with paper money and there were a lot of issues with like kids going printing their own money and all kinds of stuff. And then the other thing was just manning this, like having the body to man the store, like because we would do it at lunch or whatever. But this was so kind of nice because once you get the items in there, and once you kind of have a system like when the people are going to buy, the kids just kind of do it on their own. Like kids buy a home, kids like it's not you don't need the manpower. The only manpower you need is passing the stuff out. And if you just have like a system for that, it works out really well.
Awesome. Yeah. And we'll definitely dig into the logistics of who mans your store in a little bit. But yeah, thank you for sharing. What I'm hearing is started in the individual classroom, spread to a few teachers, and then created a school-wide committee for that shift, which I think is a great approach. And I know, Ariel, you had a similar experience of starting in your own classroom and then, bringing it to K through 2 and then 3 through 6 as well. Tell me what that looks like and kind of what your structure looks like at the elementary level split K2 and 3 through 6.
So this is my second year using ClassBank. This was the first year that we did it school wide. Again, I started with the version just in my classroom, but like Jack said, we needed to be able to, as a team, give bonuses to the same account. Kids, needed to be not have separate accounts for each teacher basically, so we needed that joint access. as far as doing it K2, there is a split. K2 it has kind of gathered as a team, and 3 through 6 has gathered through as a team, just for educational purposes. K2 probably don't want to have to explain the higher prices, or decimals, or things like that to their students. So it was just easier for K2 to have the $1, $2, $3 bonuses and fines versus 50, and so. And K2 did not do paychecks this year, and what paychecks or bills. They just basically did it bonuses and fines, and weekly they would go through and they would let the kids know, to help them log in, help them see how much they had, and they had the option to save or buy. And they did that within their classroom. 3 through 6, we do group wide auctions monthly. We try to do it monthly. And then we have different options inside each classroom that they can purchase throughout the week.
Perfect. And that's a great lead in to, oh, sorry, Ariel, we're going to add on to that. Oh, cool. I'll keep adding on, because that's a great lead into my next question about the logistics of, actually manning and running your school store. So a few questions for you. Who runs your school store? Is it staff? Is it students? Is it a mix? When is it open? How often is it open? What do the logistics look like?
So for this year, it was pretty teacher led. We didn't dive into students doing the banking or the class store, but that is something that we want to dive into more next year as we go on.
Mainly classroom focus. And I love that you mentioned you have a mix of class store that students can shop in. How often are those classroom stores open? Is it, set the same for 3 through 6, or is it dependent on the teacher?
It really depends on the teacher. Typically for 5 and 6, we do at the end of class, especially if it's snacks or, a drink that they're purchasing. We do end of class. If they're finished with their work, they can come buy a drink or a snack.
Awesome. And I'm excited to dig more into your auction in a minute. So I'll hold that thought. But Jack, tell us more about Pleasant View. What does your structure look like?
Yeah, so we do have a team of teachers that run the school-wide store. Big focus this year was coming up with more experience-based things than, because like I think every teacher for the most part has like chips and Jolly Ranchers and that kind of stuff. And we started with that in the school-wide store, and then we just kind of realized that it was redundant because they could just buy that any day from the regular teacher. So we tried to make it like a unique thing for them. So like one example that we came up with this year that we really like is we have like a sports package. So for our middle school sports, if like they can buy, and it's really expensive, but they can buy something for like $5,000, and they can get like 3 or 4 tickets to the sporting event, and they can get concession items like set up for our athletic director, stuff like that. We also have like a Fun Friday once a month. We run an altered schedule, and if you bought the Fun Friday experience, you get to go play basketball or soccer in the gym, or listen to music or phone time, that kind of stuff. So the kids really like the experiences. We're trying to do a lot more of that kind of stuff. For our tangible items that are passed out, once the first of the month, we do rent, so they get charged rent, and then after they pay that rent, that there's a 3 school day period that they can buy things. Once that closes, we run the report. We kind of organize it, and that's what the teacher team does. And then we hand it off to our life skills class, and our life skills class goes through organizing, putting the things in bags, and then delivering those to those homerooms throughout the month. So we kind of give the kids the promise that if you buy like a fidget or something, you'll have it by the end of the month. So it kind of gives us the flexibility, so we're not rushing or stressing to get things to kids.
That's awesome. And I love that you have put the responsibility onto your students as well. So it takes more off of your staff's plate. Um, you both have kind of talked about some reward ideas already, but that was the number one question that we got from the audience members. What rewards are most engaging for your students? And how have you handled pricing those different rewards in your stores?
A lot of it is like for the kids really like those experiences and get like to, feel special, get out of class, do those kinds of things because again, we just kind of realized that even though they want to buy the Jolly Ranchers, I definitely go through some Jolly Ranchers and some chips and stuff like that, but they really like they start to realize throughout the year that they want to save up and they want to go do these things. Another thing that we're doing right now is eighth grade dance tickets. So, we're doing an eighth grade dance. You can buy a ticket. You don't have to pay for it if you buy it through the Class Equity store or Class Bank store. Pricing is a lot of just trial and error. We've gone through like the inconsistencies among staff as far as like why would I buy a Jolly Rancher for $30 when this teacher has it for $5? So we kind of, as a school store team, we kind of put together like a document that says this is kind of what we suggest prices should be. You have obviously autonomy in your classroom to do what you would like, but this is kind of like if we can stay as consistent as possible, it really helps with us buying the things because anything food wise, our district won't buy. So we're buying those things on our own. So that we don't go through a ton of chips, a ton of things. A lot of it is, again, it's a ton of trial and error for different teachers. Like things that work for some don't work for others. So for example, we utilized the savings accounts this year, and as a school store team, we sat down and we said, this is a really cool idea. Well, let's set interest at 30%, and which we thought was a big number, but we thought like we didn't think kids would want to save. And then like the really smart kids figured out that they could save like $3,000 a week. And so then we had a situation where like all of our kids had hundreds of thousands of dollars. We didn't know what to do. So then we had our principal come through and he was the king and he was taxing the people. So we had this huge tax to kind of reset them all. It was all our fault. But that's kind of how we kind of a lot of it, even like in year 3, is a lot of trial and error. So
yeah. I love that and have fun with it. I think that's a big takeaway too of like kids understand, this is a school economy, just like our real economy. Things change, there's supply and demand. So I love that example. And Ariel, for you, I would love to hear how you price things, what's in your store, and then would love to hear more about your monthly auction as well.
So with the auction, it really just depends on what the kids want and how much they're willing to spend on it. Some kids they'll spend $2,000 on a little bitty notebook if that's what they're really wanting that day. But as far as the experiences, I think like Jack said, it's trial and error. It really is. And I can echo what he said about the savings accounts. You really have to watch them, but it is awesome to see those kids realize that if they save, it's rewarding. But for K2, I was looking at their prices. So they get a reward for perfect attendance that week. You probably don't want to price your things, $50 if it's a little piece of candy or something. But if it's pie your teacher in the face at the end of the year, then you might price it at $100.
Yeah.
For us, 3 through 6, I want to say that at the end of this year, we do a biggest saver award at the end of the year at awards day. So I think one of my higher kids had like $6,000. So if I was going to do a pie your teacher in the face, I'd probably put it at about 6,000. But it also depends on how much your kids are saving and how much you set your expenses and your paychecks.
I love that. And for folks in the audience that might not know much about auctions, can you share a little bit more about what that structure looks like?
So for the auction, I, at the beginning of the year, send out a letter to parents and let them know that we are going to do monthly silent auctions where the kids can use their class bank money to purchase items. I typically try to have at least 20 items, tangible, something that they can take home with them. And I ask parents to donate those things. I go personally and shop the clearance aisles at Dollar General or, Walmart, just whatever I can personally put in. I have used some 500. Our school gives $500 at the beginning of the school year for your classroom. So I've used some of that money. I have locally, some of our businesses have donated things. Um, and I just ration those items throughout the year, keep an eye on what I have. What I do is I lay everything out in the morning for the students to come through. I let them walk through my classroom and view all of the items that are up for auction that day. I take silent auction papers and I write what the item is. I do a starting bid of maybe $50, depending on what it is. And as our students switch classes, they're able to go and bid on the items. At the end of the day, we all gather. I say, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bidding's shut down, and I'll pull the pages off, and we go as a group. We go sit down, and we'll go through, and I say, so and so won the basketball for $200, and they all get excited and cheer for everybody, and they love the class bank cash drawer sounds when you hit an expense, so they get excited about that. But it's a big day. They enjoy it.
That's super fun. I love that. And a great way for students to blow their money. That's sometimes a question
Yes.
too of, well, what if my students just have so much money? If you have
Yes.
an auction and they start bidding against each other, that's a good way to clean
Yes.
the bank accounts.
Yes. And some of them, they often team up with each other. If they don't have enough for something, then they will pull their money to where they can buy it, and they share the item.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love
Yes.
that.
Another thing that I just thought of this. Another thing that some of our teachers have done, this is I think is genius, is like if they like plan, like especially like these days in May, like if they plan to show a movie, like they'll just bluff and they'll say, hey, if everybody gives me $100, I'll show this movie. And they all like this teacher says they always pay. So like we just kind of want to clear some money, like just do something we're gonna do anyway and just charge them.
Love that. Another one of my favorite rewards, which this is a good end of year one too, for yeah, just trying to get all of the money out of the bank accounts, is on Amazon. You can get these little scratch offs. And so teachers will buy those and students can buy the scratch off tickets like they would, buy a lotto ticket. And sometimes it's like, oh, you get a piece of dust or like you get a hair tie, but then sometimes it's the bigger reward, like the basketball. So another fun way just to have students spending all their money. Okay, last question, because I know we're coming up on time and I do want to spend a few minutes for crowd Q&A. If you could share in a sentence or two or less, what impact have you seen because of implementing your school store?
One of the biggest impacts I've seen is financial literacy. Um, this is something that kind of gets put on the back burner a lot. It's not necessarily tested in these higher grades, especially. And it's not something that my students had been exposed to previously. That's been the most favorite thing that I see, but also the student accountability, the record keeping for me, because I can go on and look and see this student had this and this and this, or this student has been doing great and this and getting, bonuses every week for such and such. So student accountability, and I mean, also they're afraid of those fines. They don't like them, especially when they've been working hard for bonuses and saving the money. They definitely don't like when you fine them.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
I would say it is transformative to the tier one behaviors. So ClassBank actually did a class study on our school. And our tier one behaviors, so just like the minor stuff, went down like 23%. So it just kind of proves that it does work. The kids are, I mean, I would say the biggest impact is overall engagement. We have probably 90% of the kids really care about how much money they have. And so it does help. So
Awesome. For sure. I'm going to do some rapid fire questions because we only have a few minutes left. So thanks to everyone that has shared in the chat. Feel free to keep typing away here. Arlene, thank you for asking. You'd like more information on the rent. I'll send a follow-up with more information on what they're talking about there. But one question we've gotten a ton is, who funds the items for your school store?
So for our district, we've gotten, and our principals have been very, very supportive, but we've gotten really creative with the funds and how we're using them. And like, we use like something that's called an enhancement fund. So we have about $1,700 a year we can use for tangible items. And so that's how that funds that. For the food and all that, teachers are buying their own. And I wish it was different, but it's just is what it is.
Yeah, Ariel, how about for you?
Pretty much the same. I agree. Our school probably has a fund that we could tap into for, I mean, technically it could be a math fund even because they're messing with numbers. So it's just your principal getting creative with what where the money's going to come from. And it, like he said, it is a lot of teacher, it for us it was a lot of teacher purchased, but we were able to use our classroom money, our 500 money, if we needed to purchase items. And donations, you can always ask. When my son did it, it was not even new items. It was, stuff that you might pick up at a yard sale. But he was just as excited to bring it home and, give it to us as a present. So they don't care, especially the younger students. Now the older ones, they might want something brand new, but
I heard from a teacher at Jack's school that their students really liked a little pile of dust. It was like the dust pet, and some kid bought that. So even the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, they like weird things sometimes.
Yeah. Or mystery boxes are a big thing too in our school. So we'll just put like, it'll just be like the most is like what's the surprise that's in the mystery box. It could be like a can of soup, or sometimes it's like a $5 gift card, but the kids will bid on that. And they just love the unveiling of the mystery box. So just like really things that are not a big deal to us that are just really big to them because they like the surprise.
Yeah, I love that. We are at time, so unfortunately, we will have to start wrapping up. But I saw another question just about more ideas for your school store. In our follow-up email, I will send you a list. We have 100+ store reward ideas, and most of those are free for you. So I'll send that as a follow-up, and I'll also make sure to get all of Jack and Ariel's recommendations too to send. But before people hop off, if you wouldn't mind quickly taking this exit survey, just a few quick questions to help us better understand your needs and what you would like to see in the future. But as y'all are scanning the little QR code, just want to say again, thank you so much, Jack and Ariel, for spending time out of your busy days to share what has been working for you all. Really appreciate it.